yeah, returning to the spiritual home of the Mad Monday podcast, being released on a Tuesday. My name is Tino Fa'asua Manaiawi, and Tohu Hurley is joining me live and direct from what I believe it was it Mick Jagger who called it the arsehole of the world? Invercargill. G'day, Ben. How's the weather down there?
Actually, it's stunning. It's a beautiful day, although we were supposed to land here in our plane about 3 hours ago, and it was foggy, apparently, so we've come via Dunedin, which is always a delightful stop-off.
To be fair, the Dunedin airport's probably not much further away from Invercargill than the Invercargill airport is.
Yes, but Momona International Airport is quite some distance from the city of Dunedin.
Yeah, rugby league stronghold in its own right down there in Invercargill, allegedly. Always interesting when a town, I suppose you flew there so you may not have seen it, but when a town has a cemetery at the front gate, like on your way into any town, if there's a cemetery there, it's a real powerful move. I presume you're not down there scouting the next Warriors talent. You're down there for a comedy gig?
Yes, we're down here doing the 7 Days Live tour, and that's always fun. But on our plane, actually, there were a lot of excitable parents because I believe Southland Boys just won the rugby union, a massive upset, massive underdogs. They won the rugby union secondary schools boys competition.
I saw that as well. Always a stronghold of rugby union down there in Southland. All right, let's rip straight into it. We are a day later than we would like to be, but on Saturday afternoon, I guess you'd call it over here, 5 p.m, the Warriors B took on the Dolphins and inevitably went down 34-10. Here's how it sounded.
Oh, just as I thought we had everything under control. The ball's been lost again. How is that play on? And it's going to be a try in the corner to Jack Bostock. It's gone. They're spreading it wide. Nikarima, he's been a handful. He finds a gap. He puts Asako in. Asako just runs. He can't be beaten. He can't be taken down by Josh Curran. I'm stuttering. I'm a bit freaked out. I haven't seen the Warriors take a hiding like this so far this year. Oh, Josh Curran finds himself in some space. He's running down. Through and pass, boy. Yes. Here we go. Oh, hey, another pass. Montoya. He's got Henderson Tabuafino trying to tackle him, but he can't. He scores. The Wires are back.
The shrill combination of Chris Key shrieking coming through your headphones as you listen to this podcast. A very excitable end to the game for Warriors fans. But to be honest, I don't know how much to read into this. Ben, do you take anything away from that game?
What I take away from that game was our good players actually played quite well. So there were 7 starting changes from our regular side, not counting Jazz Tavanga and injuries like that. And I thought Josh Curran was mentioned a few times there in the highlights. He had a really great game. And I think our first team players were pretty good. So there's that to take away. I thought I think it was even said by our colleague Chris Key at one point, it's amateur hour out there. I think Freddie Lussick's standing in front of the play of the ball at one point. And it was a bit of a shocker. But my take is, and I said this a few weeks ago, I don't mind dropping this game because the law of averages suggests that we weren't going to go through and win the whole thing if we were going to be unbeaten for what would be 10 or 11 games on the trot. So I didn't mind it.
No, and I think the other thing for me is anytime you're facing a team that has Felice Kaufusi lining up for them and you can't fall out of the top 4 and you can't improve your position, then why the hell would you put Sean Johnson out on that paddock for 80 minutes? It just makes no sense. And I think that the Warriors faithful for the first time in years were all on board with this. Rest everyone. And Webby we trust. Whatever he wants to do is all good with us. And what ended up happening was across the course of this last round, we went from being in 3rd and playing the Panthers, who were in 2nd, to sliding down to 4th and playing the Panthers, who were in 1st. So it's been a bit of a fuck around for nothing, to be honest, and we just end up back in the same position. So Marty Martin back out there. This was a bit of a loosener for him, trying to get a bit of ring rust out of there. How do you reckon he looked in his first outing and, God, what seems like almost the entire season?
Yeah, I thought he looked pretty rusty, if I'm honest. I thought he was solid enough and probably shores up a bit of that defence that we needed around the middle of the park. But without someone dynamic running either side of him, he's not a huge runner himself. Probably a few too many injuries in his career for that. I thought he looked solid without being spectacular. As you say, just shake off the rust. And next week when he's got Shawnee J outside of him, it'll be quite a different story.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he looked okay. There was just a couple of issues. Like there was obviously the massive intercept pass that he threw to Jermaine Osako in the first half. But I got to be honest, I think most Sixers in the game would have thrown that exact same pass. I just think that is more of a freakish athleticism from Jermaine than it is, a discretion against Tamati Martin. But I do think it's good that we got him out there. Like I was saying last week, the injury to Metcalf, as heartbreaking as it is, it's good that it happened when it did. Just on Metcalf, by the way, I don't know if you saw, I think it was the NRL, it might have been Fox, put out a top 8 graphic this week, and they were like, here's the top 8 teams. And it was like a sort of AI generated looking thing. And the player that they used to represent the Warriors was Luke Metcalf. So I wonder if they...
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, like, even if he was fit and healthy, I don't know, Sean Johnson, if you're going to pick a talisman from our team.
You would think, or Tohu, or Adam Fanua-Pekisi, one of the real talismen of our team.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's a strange one.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the left edge. Obviously, that's where Tamati was. They changed the right edge. Almost everyone was gone. Obviously, Sean Johnson was gone out there. Dallin didn't play. But then on the left, they had Marcelo. They had the A&P show, Adam Pompey out there as well. And I thought they looked good. One of those tries that we scored, one of the 2 tries that we scored, was going down their edge. As you mentioned, it was Josh Curran who went flying out of the gates. But then all of a sudden, it was Pompey onto it. Then he got the offload away to Marcelo Montoya. That must buoy them a bit, because I think the mainstream media, the missionary media, have been slamming like our left edge, just been like, oh, Saab scored 4 tries against them. Montoya hasn't scored in ages. It must be good to get a bit, like I wonder if that was one of the things that Webby wrote down. It's just like, I can feed these boys over here, get their heads up, because the good coaches do that, don't they? They try and buoy their players heading into the finals.
I do wonder what's going to happen to Montoya next year. I mean, no one's really said where RTS is going to play. He apparently, Chance has been assured he will play fullback. So everyone assumes that RTS is going to go into the centres, but he could just as easily go on the wing. Yeah,
I was even wondering at the start of the season, or when the RTS news initially got announced, I was like, I feel like RTS should be one of the centres, and then Montoya should be the other centre, and then put Ed Cossey in there. Obviously, he's been out for a while. He came back in, but I don't know if he looked incredible. So you're right. It could be a problem. But then also, like I said to my dear friend Roger, RTS, you might know this, when I talked to him a while ago, we always sit here and we have these conversations on podcasts and at the pub. God, where are you going to fit all these dudes? When you're playing for those teams, they're like, fucking more the merrier, because someone's going to do a hammy, someone's going to get suspended. It's the thing that we've had in the second row this season. We can't get Curran onto the field, Mitch Barnett couldn't get game time for a bit there. And we on the outside are like, how do we fit all this talent on the field? But the guys that are playing are like, nah, fuck, stick around, man, because if I can't be bothered one week, or, it's not a problem. It's an embarrassment of riches. And as we've seen these last few weeks, this is exactly the time of the year when these players come into their own. Like you've just said, Curran. I thought another one was Dylan Walker. I think he's good for a fuck up every now and then, but he's also, you notice him as soon as he comes out onto the field. He's playing in that sort of 13 first receiver sort of role. I don't know if he's captain material, but he was on the weekend. I reckon he's been one of the keys in the last few weeks, Dylan Walker, particularly with Jazz Tavanga out.
Yeah, just that spark, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a wily old campaigner, and he's very versatile. He doesn't quite have the same pesty mongrel that Jazz does, but there's a little bit of it in there.
Yeah, he's not so much good for a card. He's better for a knock-on. He's got a couple of those in him. Look, I don't think there's too much more to say about this game. To be honest, we've probably talked about it too much. There's not much that you can read into this, and we march on into the first round of the finals. All right, time now, though, to move on to the stonker of the round.
Terrific legs tackle. Now forward on the angle, back through the middle. Nobody at home for the Bulldogs. King is out there off the bench for the Bulldogs, in the middle of the field. Foran showing it. He's in for number 2.
Here's the Fox.
He rounds Aaron's shot. He would like that matchup. Runs towards Kenny, steps in back on the inside. Weaver's there, had a crack at him. The Fox beats everybody. Weaver holds it up. Weaver, Foran showing. Foran, Kieran Foran. He has a hat-trick.
34-30 in the end. The Titans take down the Bulldogs, 64 points all told. And Ben Hurley, we have had an opportunity presented to us later on this week to get a mystery tattoo of a Warriors logo on our body somewhere. You've had to turn it down because you already have a tattoo of the Titans logo. Would you like to tell the listeners where that is and what you made of this win on the weekend?
Oh, look, I'm not going to tell you. You can guess. Just text through on 3483 and let me know where you think my Titans tattoo is. We'll read those out at the end of the podcast.
But yeah, 34 points. I mean, the Titans, I don't know, they're your beloved team. This was a stonker only in the amount of tries that were scored. There were some sick tries scored, obviously that Fox one that we just heard then. But you'd have to say this would be one of the most inconsequential stonkers of the year?
Well, yeah, and look, I feel like a bit of a stuck record because the Warriors are in the top 4 and have been sort of assured it for a few weeks, and the bottom 4 was fairly assured as well. It was only really those teams around the middle where there was any kind of jeopardy as to a lot of these games. And, obviously last round, both these teams out of the running. It was incredibly entertaining. It was like watching the Nines or something. It was free-flowing, and when Kieran Foran rolls over for a hat-trick, you know that not everybody's committed to defence.
Yeah, that's a hallmark of a team that has rolled over, letting a man who is 53 years old run in a hat-trick. Yeah,
I love Kieran Foran. Obviously he has some personal issues, but he's been around. He's such an old campaigner. And I don't even know if he's playing next year. I tried to Google it during the game, so I was like, is this such a hat-trick in his final game? But he hasn't said anything yet about his future.
No.
But I know that he signed a deal with the Titans to become a coach when he decides to stop playing.
Well, then that's a disincentive to keep suiting up next year, isn't it? Oh, but this goes back to a long-held theory that I've talked about on many a podcast is if you're a professional athlete, never retire. What is the advantage of retiring? Just don't ever say it, because if some idiot out there is going to offer you a contract, then so be it. Don't take it out of their hands. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think it starts to really hurt at some point.
What, playing? No, but I mean definitely stop playing. But I'm saying never officially announce your retirement, because who knows? Sheikh Mo from Dubai might just be like, do you want $500,000 to come over here and teach rugby league to the Emiratis? Like, yeah, absolutely. I'm not retired. Whereas if he reads, Kieran Foran, he's retired, don't do it.
Is that every professional sports plan now? It's just in the hope that the Saudis will start some sort of dodgy competition with lots of money?
100%. And I don't understand why they don't do it as well. Yeah, look, I got to say, there's not a whole lot I can say about this game. 34 points to 30. Like you said, it was very interesting on a Sunday night to be able to watch a game of footy like that, bush footy. The group chat was firing up as well. Did you see all the stories coming out of the Bulldogs? There's, obviously Tavita Pangai Jr.'s quit to go boxing. There's stories of another bloke who showed up late, then was forced to wrestle everyone, and then he walked out on the club. I remember at the start of the season, everyone was, and at the end of last season, they were talking about who's going to be the new Warriors coach. There were two big names, and they were both the Panthers assistants from last year. One was Serraldo, and one was Webster. And now, fast forward a year, we got Webster, and everyone was gutted that they missed out on Serraldo. Well, he's now in charge of the Bulldogs, and they look like they've gone to absolute shit. They've got legends of the club coming out on, James Graham's coming out on NRL 360 and trying to defend the club. All these players are trying to stand up for the club and that it's not in an absolute shambles. But I don't know. It sounds like the Fox wants to leave as well. Didn't we luck out getting Webby?
Yeah, so basically, if Webby is Webb Lasso, as he's become, if we're going to follow the plot of that particular TV show, then Seraldo is Nathan Shelley.
I haven't seen the show, but I'm sure that the people that have. What's that on? Disney?
You've not seen Ted Lasso?
I know.
What the hell are you doing?
I know.
You work in sports broadcasting.
I know. I feel like it's now at the point where I can't watch it, like everyone's, or then it might just be in the contrarian, just for the fuck of it.
Yeah. You've been that guy. You've been that guy who's like, the Beatles weren't very good.
Yeah. I've never seen Titanic. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll have to, maybe that's my homework for the weekend.
Not guilty, Your Honour.
Yeah, what are you getting the ref's room number, mate?
Let's move on from the stonker of the round. There was something that you put into the chat that I thought was very, very interesting, and that was your theory, or question rather, is the NRL becoming the NBA? Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, so this has all come from the success of the Knights and their amazing run that they've had. A Warriors-esque run, you would say, but coming from further down the table. And that is, their team is essentially based around one amazing player. And yes, you do have to have good players around them, because there are teams with some very good players and one very good player, like the Bulldogs, has Matt Burton, for example, but they can't buy a win, really. But I think if you have somebody like Kalen Ponga in your side and the rest of your team is pretty good, then you will do well in the NRL suddenly. Manly are like this with Tommy Turbo, and they haven't had him for much of the season, hence their slide down the table. And, you could argue the Broncos, they look so good when Reece Walsh is on and look so average when he's either not there or not having a great game, because he's still young and a little inconsistent. And I've always thought that about the NBA, particularly in recent years, that basically if you've got LeBron or if you've got Kevin Durant in your side, then you'll be one of the best teams, as long as you have fairly good players around you.
Yeah, I like the theory. I think my only retort to the Reece Walsh thing would be, we had him last year, and he wasn't the kind of player that we needed. I guess, as what you're saying, is there's a base level that you have to be at already, just an okay team.
Yeah.
Then if you can just have one of those superstar players, then that'll tip you over the top.
I guess when I say an okay team, they've got to be a good defensive team, basically.
Yeah, right.
And then you just need one really great playmaker who can make everything happen.
That's actually a really good point, because I was just going to say, we had Reece Walsh last year and he was the exact kind of fullback we did not need. How many highlights did we have last year of him getting piss bowled by a prop to score? Like, how many tries were scored against us with him hanging off the back of them? But you're right, it's because we were a shit defensive team. And really what's changed this year is the defense. I think the Rabbitohs would be another team like that. Like if Latrell's on, then they're away. So then who would? I mean, that's Sean Johnson for us this year, isn't it? Then, and your
I guess so. I guess so, but I just think not every team is necessarily like that.
Right.
So I think the Warriors are based probably around three players mainly. They've got, and I mean, we saw it with the Cowboys as well. So the Cowboys basically stopped winning when Val Holmes got suspended.
Yeah.
And that's why they're not in the 8.
That's not a bad shout. The Eels, well, they've got their own problems. I would say, though, that as good as Ponga has been, and he has been electric, he's been the Tommy Turbo of the second half of this season, the rest of their team, like, they're not scrubs. They've got good guys who just haven't really fired. Like, they've got about 5 different Saifitis in their team. They've got one of the Frizzels that doesn't play for the All Blacks. They've got Bradman Best. They've got Origin Gagai. They've got, who's our man that plays on the wing? Dominic Young, who's going to the Storm next year or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They've just got one of those teams where it's like, I feel like they had actually been underperforming for quite some time. And now, when the punditry put out their power rankings, which are based on licking their finger and sticking it to the wind, a lot of them have the Knights ahead of us just based off the run that they've been on. I was shocked just now to look at the table and see them sitting in fifth. I thought that they had scraped
unbelievable.
On the 7th. Yeah.
I think probably why those power rankings have the Knights ahead of us is because they've probably played better than us in recent weeks, whereas we've squeaked past some pretty average teams. They are producing, big wins.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. Although, having said that, I mean, everyone's been bitching about the way that we've been winning in the last few weeks, but we have been winning, So that's all that... We can only beat the teams in front of us. We can only beat the teams in front of us. All right, Di's not here, but he did send an interesting stat through into the group chat. So I would like to take over the reins and do my best rendition of Statsman, if I could. If I could summon up this thing.
I'm the Statsman.
Ski bup 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 bup. This stat did the rounds last week before our last game. Adam Pompey has played every minute of every game this season. Whatever you think about the much maligned Adam Pompey, I feel like he gets a bit of a hard time because there's nothing, he's not scoring tries in the corner like Dallin. He's not throwing scucky passes or anything like that. He's just a sort of a workhorse. But one of the things that every corny NBA analyst ever says is the best ability is availability. And who in the NRL is more available than Adam Pompey? He hasn't turned an ankle. He hasn't tripped over. He hasn't put a high shot on anyone. Every available minute, Adam Pompey has played. So whatever you think of him, he's there day in, day out.
That's right. It's a similar policy that G Lane applies to the ACC team. We are the best available alternative commentators in New Zealand.
There are better. There are a host of better ones, but they are not available. They're not available.
Yeah.
And
no, they have real jobs where they can earn proper money.
Yeah, and that's the best ability as availability. While we're on the stats, though, the Warriors end of season awards were last night. That's Monday, the 4th of September. What does that tell you about the Warriors administration's hopes for this season going into it, that they have scheduled their end-of-year function before the season finished? They clearly did not think that we were going to make the playoffs.
I mean, as long as they didn't do Mad Monday yesterday, then I'm okay with it.
Well, that's why me and Lane got an invite to that, and we didn't head along because the players weren't on the soup. So we were like, well, what's really the point? Have you heard any rumblings about any Mad Mondays at all? Because they would have all been yesterday, right?
Yeah, all the teams that didn't make the finals, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I've not heard anything yet.
No.
I think the NRL are pretty keen to stamp on the whole Mad Monday culture, but I'm glad that we're here to keep it alive.
Yeah, to spearhead it. Friend of the podcast and the commentary, the notorious pantsman Joel Harrison. He went along to the awards ceremony last night. Apparently he was seen leaving with Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. I made a joke this morning that I feel like would make you cringe, but something to do with finishing in the corner, but I'm above it now. Huge omen that the notorious pantsman was there by himself as well. He was seated at a table. He was supposed to. Now he produces the Jono and Ben show on the Hits. He was actually there with Laura McGoldrick, if you can believe that. Hence why he's the notorious pantsman, who was presenting a lot of awards.
When Guptill is in the West Indies, the pantsman doth play.
The pantsman cometh. So plenty of awards dished out last night. No, we're all dished out to Sean Johnson, basically. He won the Clubman of the Year. He won the Simon Mannering Medal. He won the People's Choice, the 1NZ People's Choice Award. He cleaned up everything. Couldn't have been anyone other than him. So the awards all been scooped up by him. But we've got one more award ourselves, and that's for the Supercoach Player of the Year for our Mad Monday. What is it called? The Mad Monday Munters Group?
Munters, yeah.
Yeah, the Munters Group. So we will be recapping the season tomorrow. I think it'll be myself and Adam, if not Keezy, on the final edition of the Supercoach Corner. But we're also going to have to tee up, and this is something I wanted to discuss with you because we haven't mentioned it to Lane yet, but we need to have our own Mad Monday, I presume after the grand final, which we'll make. What do you reckon needs to be on the agenda for our Mad Monday?
Well, I always enjoy oysters.
I've had oysters on the piss before, and they ended up in the bathtub later on that afternoon. And it was brought to my attention by my long-suffering partner that you can't flush the bathtub, and the toilet was right there. So what was I thinking?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I think you've put me off oysters. Thank you.
All right, oysters off the menu. Nothing said about Kinner yet, though, so that could potentially still be on the menu. But we'll have to see how many people we can fit the invite in for our end-of-year Mad Monday as well. Just quickly, Penrith coming up this week. Hurley, this is obviously the biggest game of our season, but we do have the lifeline up our sleeve. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, look, I love the Warriors. I love this season. I like to be optimistic, but Penrith did an absolute number on the Cowboys the other night, and I don't know. I'm a little worried. I'm so glad we got the second chance.
So you think we're going to be back here at Mount Smart Stadium the week after, playing the winner of the Raiders versus the Sharks?
Well, let's hope it's at Mount Smart Stadium, because the decision, I think, is still out as to whether at this stage, when we're at the time of recording, whether it will be at Mount Smart or at Eden Park.
Yeah, well, on that, the Sharks are playing a home game this weekend, and their Shark Park seats about 423 people. Like, there's no reason that they can host that, and then the NRL can turn around and say that we can't host one at our place.
Well, that's excellent news, yeah, because if there's a precedent, surely they can't force us to go to Eden Park.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I am keeping the faith. I think we're going to absolutely towel up the Panthers. We'll be seeing someone else down the track. We'll get the week off and then meet someone in the semi-final, I hope, anyway.
I mean, we've essentially just had a week off, haven't we?
Basically. And I think, I got to be honest, like, I kind of feel like these are the kind of games that historically the Warriors have won, the ones that they just have no right to win, the ones that they like scheduling losses. In the past, we've put these kind of hidings on the Melbourne Storm when we shouldn't have, and all those kinds of teams. So I don't know. Wishful thinking.
Okay, you've charmed me. Warriors by 40.
Warriors by 40. Put the house on it. All right, that'll do us for Mad Monday for today. We'll be back tomorrow with the Supercoach and your TAB Game Day Good Punt for this week as well. Thank you very much, Ben Hurley. And the commentary will be live at 6 p.m. myself and Keezy on Sky Sport 9 as the Warriors take on Penrith and run up 40 points on them. We'll see you then.
And Australia without rugby league is not Australia.